This episode of Awakening Journey is brought to you by The Art Shift. The Art Shift is a creative agency and fine art dealer focused on expanding human consciousness through the exclusive artworks of awakening artist Brittany. Explore awakening through her limited edition print collection, with new works added monthly at theartshift.com. See you there! So it's currently, let's check it. It's currently 2:15 in the morning, and what a better way to start your day than revisiting old projects and feeling motivated and inspired to continue. 2:15 in the morning. Well, you do it when you got time. So here we are. Welcome to Awakening Journey. So one of the things that I have realized just this evening alone, but really over the last several years, is that the story that I'm sharing outwardly, it's super incomplete. So it's currently 2:15 a.m. in the morning, and I am reviewing old videos and deciding that I need to show up for you today. I need to be here for you. I need to continue this work. I need to inspire and engage and just really just engage my person to just keep going on all the shit that that they want to do. They feel like they have no time to do. I'm gonna be honest, the last several years of life have been so heavy, so super heavy into awakening, that it's honestly been coming up for air is the expression that comes to mind. You're not drowning, but you're kind of drowning. You're hoping that you can come up for air, hoping that there's a break in the continuity of the things that you've been experiencing. But yeah, I'm still here. I'm still going. Still, it came up to the surface, caught my breath, and a lot has happened since I made my last video. I'm just now uploading this to YouTube, like my other stuff, and I just figure, hell, we'll just continue the project that we've been going on, even though I took, I don't even know how many months that was hiatus. So what happened since then? That's a good question. Well, Daddy's back went out, that's for sure. Yeah, that was a massive challenge that presented itself for our family. We had kind of been through a lot the past few years. Like, maybe I should rewind and start from the last couple years. I don't really know. Got any thoughts? Man, I just feel like then every time I go to talk, I have to start the story over from zero. And it would just be way better if I did, but you know, it's 2:15 in the morning and I don't know if I have my bearings about me to deliver that full story. I can try. Awakening is it's a really difficult thing that majority of our culture, it doesn't even come up in the mainstream conversation. Like, okay, yeah, now it does related to the 3D awakening, but nobody like really openly is just like discussing it from like the transformation of the person and what that really is like, you know, recognizing the God in yourself, recognizing the spirit of the universe flowing through you, connecting to that, and then all of the upheaval that it brings along with it. And nobody tells you that that shit is the major shit that accompanies your awakening. Awakening 101, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the craziness that we're all going through as we navigate our internal selves. No, but awakening has definitely put me on a different kind of journey than most. I'd say just specifically for being an artist, that was kind of how my awakening unfolded. Literally not being connected to my purpose and the work that I was doing, and then kind of forcibly being put on that path and prompted in ways that almost made zero sense at all, to then getting on that path and then following in the intuitive prompts and the downloads and the kind of pieces of psychic information that were basically downloaded into my skull and put on my heart more or less for me to do and to kind of carry out as projects that maybe when they were given to me and I received the knowledge, I didn't really know what to do with them, but then I would receive, as part of my awakening, pieces, a little piece at a time, like, okay, do this next, do this next, do this next. It's basically what's gotten me here is like following those internal prompts and learning to listen to that intuition, to trust that intuition. At a certain point in the journey, it was like an inflection point for my awakening. Was like, you either believe in your intuition and you start to trust the internal prompts that are coming up and prompting you like, hey, go and do this and go do that, or you believe all of it or you believe none of it. You can't believe in the middle. That's like sometimes true, it's sometimes not. Ultimately, the thing that prevents most people from connecting to their intuition and, you know, being able to live out a path that is directly tied to their higher self, guiding them through all life and experience. Basically, the thing that is preventing people from accepting that guidance and going down that path is their inability to listen to that internal voice. And what internal voice am I talking about? Are you hearing voices again? Are you hearing voices again? Because I'm not hearing voices. I don't know what you're talking about here.
What? What? Hey! Hello? What? Why?
No, but seriously, I'm talking about that little internal voice that gives you these nudges that, hey, I should be applying myself over here, or I should be pursuing this. And on the surface, it doesn't necessarily make logical sense, but there's a strong pull there. There's a strong desire, and it's not just a desire that says like, you know, I want ice cream, but it's like this really strong, you know, this longing, this like, it's like a yearning, like, oh, I have to connect in with that purpose. I have to connect deeper. I have to throw out all of this superficial garbage that really means nothing in any way, shape, or form, and I have to start pursuing something that is meaningful to me, that is in direct correlation to my destiny as a person, as a soul on this planet. I always find it really interesting hearing about other people's awakenings, because when I hear their stories, I automatically like hear the parallels to my own path and my own journey. But for some reason, for me, my awakening specifically, has always been really difficult for me to talk about. Primarily because awakening unearths a lot of really nasty things embedded deep within your subconscious. And what am I talking about there? Well, it really unearths all of your subconscious fears, desires, parts of yourself that you would want to force down, put into a box and like put on a shelf, put it in the closet and forget about it for the next 35 years or maybe forever. Bringing that stuff to the surface for you to look at, grapple with, and do something with it that transforms both your perspective and your internal state, so that you can more or less alchemize that energy and turn it into something even better than before. So you're literally working with the inner alchemy that is you, transforming yourself from the inside out. No, but awakening is it's a really difficult and challenging journey to navigate, because it isn't really fun. It is alienating in a lot of ways, and most people in your life, they're not going through that, in fact. And so you're kind of on this journey by yourself, navigating through existential crisis after existential crisis, trying to figure out the world around you, which is also a total illusion. So all of that's falling apart as you learn about world events and, the collapse of the 3D matrix and what have you. All of that stuff piles onto you. It's honestly like all of this unearthing. You got to look at this stuff. You got to grapple with its meaning. You got to find the truth. You got to find the core truth of every single thing. And you're not going to be satisfied until you get to the bottom of it, until you solve for X. Solving for X is having the awakening, allowing yourself to have the awakening, taking the red pill. Not the blue pill, going back to sleep, the red pill, taking the red pill and continuing on that awakening journey, no matter what life brings you. Yeah, my awakening happened. It began through my art back it's been about 10 years. And it continued through the work that I was doing, through the way I was showing up in the world, and then my desire and how I wanted to show up and how I wanted to continue my work as an artist. What kind of projects and how was I going to transition myself from being an artist working in the art world to then being what I was really in my calling and my desire to be an entrepreneur? How is that supposed to unfold for me? Well, I tried a lot of experiments. I tried a lot of things. I really allowed the projects and the explorations that I went along to kind of unearth everything about me and to strip me bare so that I could see the true essence of what I am as a person and as a being and as a soul. Allowing for awakening to kind of unfold within you is how the universe expands itself. It's how your awareness is expanding. You're literally becoming aware to all the things that are impacting both you and the outside world and everything that you're connected with beyond time and space, beyond this lifetime, to include all lifetimes, past, present, and future. And so all of those things would kind of become a merge all into one. And it's like prompting your person who's in this present moment, who's in this lifetime, to do something with that. And so for me, it would really put me on a journey of self-discovery, of self-transformation, because you can't get from here to there probably being the person that you were, so you can't hold on to that singular identity of the person that you were. You kind of have to go along with the evolution that your life presents you with, and that's how, you and your awakening evolve. And that's how your person evolves. That's how you become more awake and more aware. And that's how your consciousness, the consciousness that you are, it's how it expands and grows. And man, I'm out of words right now. It's a pretty good riff. yeah, your awakening will inevitably catch up with you, and it will make you go down the path of awakening. It will make you. Life will make you either continue to go on sleeping, living with your eyes closed, not being blind to the things that are actually going on in the world, that are actually going on in your life, or you have the conscious choice to start to embrace those things that are surfacing, embrace that awakening that you're having, get on that path, live out that journey. So basically, I started receiving these intuitive prompts. First one was pretty abrupt, and I talk about it when I talk about one of my first artworks that I ever made in video. It was literally an intuitive prompt that like woke me up out of bed in the middle of the night and was telling me like, you need to go do this art thing over here. You need to get on that path. You need to like start going down that road. And so I was like, you know, from that moment, I like woke up in a cold sweat. I mean, what else am I supposed to do except get on the goddamn path? So yeah, that's when your conviction really hits you and you like start to embrace that, hey, this intuitive information, it's either coming from somewhere or I'm just making shit up. Eventually, when you start to trust that information, that you realize that the guidance is real, that it is coming from somewhere, and you start to ask the existential questions of, where is it coming from? Is my person really reaching through time and space from the future, pulling my person through this difficult moment, these difficult sets of challenges that just continually keep presenting themselves in your life and in your awakening, in order to evolve your person into that finished version that, you know, I'm not saying a finished version, but you know, the version of you that accomplishes the thing, that is doing the thing that you want to do. Awakening is like the prompts that you're receiving to get you on that path. That's why I'm making this video at 2:15 in the morning. So anyway, started in art. Then a few years later, you know, my conviction was that, you know, I mean, it was a gradual process, but we started just wanting to leave the US. We wanted to move to Europe. And so we did that. We sold literally all of our material possessions, packed the rest up in suitcases, and we moved to Germany. And honestly, a lot of people could probably look at my life and say, that was not the best decision you ever made. But honestly, I feel like my life would never be the same had I not listened to those prompts. Honestly, when I went to Berlin, my awakening really started unfolding because I went to Berlin starting to pursue my work more seriously as an artist, starting to kind of prod and poke through the different pathways that I was exploring in the fine art market, pushing to develop more contacts and to build on the contacts that I already had, show my work over there. But then that put me on a path, and I was living in an artist residency for 6 months, and then, you know, next thing I know, I was having these huge awakening moments like every single day. Like every single day, I was realizing more and more that I actually, while I loved being an artist, I actually hated every single thing about the art world and all of the ways that I was connecting to it, the ways that I was showing up as a person in it, the ways that I was whitewashing myself to fit in this white sterilized cube. And it really wasn't me. I felt like it's not me to feel like I have to present a fake version of myself for somebody to buy in order for me to be valuable, or for somebody to put a value on me and my work. That never, ever in any way resonated. So then when I was networking with galleries and, you know, potential, you know, contacts for new opportunities, things just started to fall apart for me because I realized that I couldn't really internally keep going on this path because I just kept having to like try so hard for people to like want to, you know, work with me or, you know, buy my work, or like you're just like you're trying so hard inside, like you're desperate for it, you know, like you want it so bad, and then it becomes like a desperation. And then like as many artists as I learned, they sell out, and then they become whatever that gallery wants them to be, and then it becomes like, you know, a rip-off from what their work is about, what the essence of what they are actually about. Yeah, so that path started to fall apart for me, and so welcome to my awakening. Yeah, if you haven't picked up on it already, awakening isn't really for the faint of heart, because once you start on the path, somehow, some way, literally all of the ways that you thought that the world worked and the way that things were going to work out, the way that your logical mind can put them together, literally awakening starts to show you that like every day you wake up and there's some earth-shattering truth that comes and hits you like a freight train. And the next thing you know is that like you're no longer, because of this new piece of information that you received, you are no longer the same person. You're no longer can think the same or act the same or perform the same. You really have to grapple with whatever it is that's presenting itself at any given moment and deal with it real time in order to advance and continue whatever it was that you were doing before. Start something over. I mean, awakening is a really great time for rebirth as well. To kind of summarize, I sold all of my belongings, and my husband and I, we always wanted to live in another country. So we sold all of our belongings, moved to Berlin. Then we both started having our awakenings. I had moved there before my husband, so my awakening had already started prior to his. So then when he moved, his opportunity that he came there for fell through, and so naturally I started to like come to the really harsh reality that, oh my God, if you don't lasso yourself in him, you're gonna find yourself in another country in a really terrible situation, and you need to just keep going on this path that you're on, somehow make it all work out, because somehow it is going to work out, even if you're maybe unsure in some of these really scary moments where your reality that you had imagined for yourself starts to fall apart. It's not really falling apart. There's a new reality forming from the pieces that were and to the new path that will be. Your person, literally their job in awakening is to hold themselves together, clear themselves out enough to find the truth of who they are and how they should move forward, okay? So in that process of awakening, a lot of things end up happening to you. And they're not happening to you. They are really unfolding through you. And it's a huge thing to learn in awakening. It's a huge curve, because a lot of the suffering, the internal struggle that goes on in awakening, it's literally the person grappling with these difficult realities that are presenting themselves, whether that be a situation or a realization or wanting to connect with a deeper reality that's kind of showing up within your truth or within your desires. All of that stuff's being unearthed, and if you don't know how to deal with it straight away, awakening can become a really self-destructive process, especially if you're not navigating those pathways in a productive way, looking at it as a shift in perspective, looking at it as a transformational shift of your person into more of a soul embodied reality where you're living really more in alignment with your deepest truth. So we let our awakening play out in Berlin for a while. We enjoyed our time there. We had our opportunities, and we were like, okay, we're gonna stay here. We're gonna enjoy the time that we have, because it probably isn't forever, but I'm enjoying it for what it is right now. So we allowed ourselves to have our awakening to explore a lot of the existential crises that were presenting themselves in our life. And that was really probably the greatest gift I could have given myself, because most people, they don't have the time or the space to give themselves that. Like, they maybe have a family or they maybe have a career. Well, I didn't have either one of those things, so I really had nothing to lose to start embracing that path and start going along that journey. So then basically 2020 happened, and we decided that we were gonna move back to the US because, I think we both kind of internally, my husband and I felt like, I just feel like there's a shift happening within me, and I've enjoyed my few years over here, living in Germany, traveling Europe, really exploring myself, my identity, and allowing my person and their career pursuits to evolve. So then from 2020, we moved to the great state of California, and lo and behold, awakening happened again with the presentation of the COVID show.
The speed was a reflection of extraordinary scientific advances and did not compromise safety, nor did it compromise scientific integrity.
Time for us to trust and not debate. The vaccine, believe it's safe to take. 9 out of 10 people won't get sick. That's 90% effective and legit. This COVID thing is real and it will find you. It's killing our people, let me remind you.
The people have been lied to. It was a gigantic lie. And on this lie, everything that governments, especially in the Western democracies, did to infringe on people's rights, to take away their freedom, to lock them in their homes, imposing curfews. All of this was based on that gigantic lie.
Maybe in a couple of decades, when people look back, the thing they will remember from the COVID crisis is this is the moment when everything went digital. And if this was the moment when everything became monitored, that we agreed to be surveyed all the time, not just in authoritarian regimes, but even in democracies. And maybe most importantly of all, this was the moment when surveillance started going under the skin.
And that really opened things up like more than I could ever have imagined, because not only did it further validate a lot of the things that were starting to come to the forefront of my consciousness that I had seen back in 2016. I was like, I don't know why, but this feels like WWE wrestling.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'll be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
This doesn't even feel real. Like it's not real in any sense of the word. So when 2020 happened, I was like, okay, now it really isn't real at all. I can tell that there's something deeper going on here. It's almost like I'm being presented with a play, and I'm supposed to play along and I'm supposed to watch, but there's like something inside of me that says, don't wear that goddamn mask. Take that face diaper off. What the fuck are you doing? Wake the fuck up.
Hello! Ah!
No, there's not some deadly virus gonna kill all of humanity, and I know I don't need to go shoot this thing up in my arm either. Something was just telling me there is some red flag going on here, and you need to get to the bottom of it right now. And that's the awakening that a lot of people started to experience in 2020 as they woke up to the reality that is literally the 3D matrix that is being constructed around all of us. And my true perspective on this is, if majority of people, if the vast majority, the 90% of people, God, even if 10% of people realize that how not real that constructed political world is that surrounds us, that basically says you have to pay your taxes here, you know, you have to abide by all of this, and we're gonna send all this billions of dollars to Ukraine.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
And wherever else they feel unnecessary, like all of that is literally, it's not real even to like even a, I should just stop talking about that part. I should just stop. It's hard. It's kind of a hard one. Anyway, I really struggled with COVID. I really struggled with that one. My awakening started happening more strongly because the people in my life, they didn't see it, and I didn't know how they couldn't see it. They were believing every single thing that their television was telling them. No, but seriously, I started to really see how fake the constructed reality was that we're all kind of buying into, and that's playing out, but yet we're very deeply involved. And suddenly I am kicked out of a grocery store in California because I'm refusing to wear a mask, and then 10 people gang up on me. I'm not complying with that shit. You can't make me, and I'll just get sick if that's the case. That's totally fine. No, I'm not gonna kill your fucking grandma. So 2020 happened, and husband and I were talking at the end of 2020 after having gone through an entire year of that madness. We were like, can you even imagine what it would be like to have kids during this mess? I spoke too soon. 3 months later, and then there we were, really looking at reality for what it was. We were going to have a baby during this pandemic. So 9 months later, this beautiful being comes into our life, and just as we're enjoying her presence and we're loving her and experiencing life as new parents, never thought we would be parents, but now we are. As I was experiencing that, basically 5 months in, I found out not only are you gonna have one baby, but you're gonna have two. Wow. Bet you don't know how babies are made, do you? Shut up. I know how babies are made. I made them. Easy. Yeah, so just as we found out that we had a newborn, I found out that I was gonna have another baby. And then a few days after that, my husband was ejected. What was the word that we used? The rug? Okay, yeah. I can't really talk about all of it, but the rug was literally pulled out from under us as my husband was ejected from his 15-year-long career. Yeah, so there we were, into another deep episode of Your Awakening, brought to you by the shit that surfaces in your own life. Welcome to the transformation that is you. It's beautiful, isn't it? So anyway, there I was, pregnant, have a 5-month-old, and Daddy just lost his job. And he didn't just lose his job, he lost his career, and that was a really hard reality to take. Yeah, naturally, I just wanted to, go back and be a hermit, but you can't do that now. You really have to embrace your awakening from where you are at in this moment, and you already started to go along this path. You already started to take yourself on this journey of being an entrepreneur, of pursuing your passions at the level that you feel that you should be doing it, and doing the things that are resonant with the person that you are and how they operate. So naturally, I started to try out those things, to try out the ideas that I was having. They were maybe still in the oven, not baked quite yet, but I still had now a family to support, so I might as well pursue them. While I am proud of the efforts that I made at the time, I do think that it's wise for every person who embarks on the entrepreneurial journey to know the entrepreneurial journey is not for the faint of heart. You're probably going to have a lot of successes and failures along the way, and probably more failures at first than you care to admit. That's just the nature of becoming an entrepreneur. I never had anyone in my life be an entrepreneur or tell me about the entrepreneurial path, so literally I'm watching it unfold and discovering just how difficult it is. And that's been a several-year process that even has evolved in the last couple 2 to 3 years. We'll get into that. So Daddy lost his career, and there we were. And I put myself forward, and when I was 8 months pregnant, I decided that, there were no opportunities showing up for him, and it was really one of the hardest 8 to 9 months of our entire existence. If you're ever in a position like that where your reality really collapses, we call it the rug being pulled out from underneath our feet, but really it's reality collapsing and coming apart at the seams. There's just no way around that. There are a lot of things that I probably will go into in other episodes that happened in there. That was really a hard chapter in so many different ways. I'm going to go back to this intuitive piece. That was literally, my whole reality was like broken down to primordial ooze. There were just like basic building blocks, and there was really no semblance of how our life was before. It was literally everything that was is now torn down. Now you have to operate or figure out how to operate and do your life now. That was a really hard reality holding space for at 8 to 9 months pregnant. So I just kind of allowed my intuition to guide me. I felt like there were portals of new opportunities opening up in my life, even though I couldn't see them. Honestly, kind of a dark time. Having your children and when they're babies, it's quite amazing. But for me, it was kind of twofold. It was like half really good and half really terrifying and eye-opening experience, because not only was I going to have to hold myself together, I was going to have to really create a new reality for our whole family. So we began to navigate a lot of life challenges in there. We had the second baby, but right before we had the second baby, I remember thinking I felt spiritually numb. There was really nothing left in my person. Obviously, I was growing a new human, but as far as what do I believe? What am I choosing to believe about life, about reality in this moment? How am I choosing to move through this series of existential crises? And for me, the only thing that I had left to come back to was my intuition, and that prompt, that question of, you either believe in the intuitive prompts and you believe in the things that are presenting themselves as challenges, you believe in that stuff surfacing, coming to the surface through this awakening process, this upheaval. You either believe in the journey and you believe in the intuitive prompts, or you don't. And I was faced with that reality. So what did I do? Well, I went back to my first birth, and I was thinking about the experience that I had. And when I found out I was pregnant, the only thing that I could hold in my mind was that I have to make it through this birth. And I held space within me for that experience to be a beautiful, wonderful experience that was going to honor me, that was going to honor my daughter, that was going to honor who we are as people living through a pandemic. So I had a beautiful home birth, that first birth, and I carried that energy with me into the second birth and into the continuation of the series of events that would unfold in my life. And that intuition is literally all that I had. It was literally the only thing that I had to hold on to. I'm so glad that I listened to it. I'm so glad that I kept trusting. It's really hard when you're an intuitive person to trust the intuitive prompts 100% all the time. Trust me, I know. I've been a person who has like lived on the fence of those things for a really long time. And then when these kind of later challenges in the last few years started to present themselves to me, I started to see that, you know, I really don't have any choice except for to embrace those intuitive prompts. So at that moment, before my second baby was born, my son, I started to trust those intuitive prompts, like put them in the forefront of my heart and in my conscious mind, and allowing those two things to align with me. You're not really like seeing the future, but you're kind of holding space for the future as you would like to experience it, and you're just literally holding space for that and trusting that no matter what presents itself to you and through these difficult moments, that you are literally going to come out on the other side, and your life is going to show itself and show that all these things were connected. They were not some just series of bad decisions or random events, that they were literally you guiding yourself through time and space, a future version of you, connecting with the past version of you, pulling the present you through all of these moments and getting you to that moment where all of it aligns, all of it makes sense. It doesn't look aligned and it doesn't make sense for quite a while. Awakening is like hindsight 2020 vision. I mean, it takes you kind of getting down the path before you see the truth of how the intuition was like there guiding you. We'll talk about intuition in some more videos. I have a lot more to say about it, but that's what I'll hint at this video as far as awakening goes and navigating how I specifically navigated those things, those challenges using my intuition. So after my son was born, there we were, a family of 4. I literally feel like we joke about it now, but we laugh and say that we literally woke up one day and we had a small family. And we were 2 people who thought we would never have kids. Literally woke up one day and we had an entire family. And so there we were, jobless with 2 children, living out in California in a 1,200 square foot condo. I think a lot of other people in my shoes would probably be terrified as hell. They may choose to exit reality. There were a lot of really hard days, but overall, when I would look at 30-day trajectory, I would say, well, how many really bad days did you have in that 30 days? Well, like really three bad days, like 3 really bad days. And I was like, see, that's pretty good. Majority of your month was positive and spent with you keeping a positive outlook and a positive mindset. And if all you had was 3 days where you were kind of feeling lost and broken and hopeless, like look at that, it's like the 97% or whatever the percentage is, 95% of your month was like spent you being positive and optimistic, even though you couldn't see the road ahead, you couldn't see the path and how you're going to get from here to there, and how you're going to support this family that you now have. How are you going to do this life now? So eventually Daddy did get a job, and there I was, just now a new mom taking care of 2 children, which if you have children, God bless you. It's one of the hardest jobs that you'll ever have in life. And if you don't have children, don't let the fear of that ever scare you. Honestly, I truthfully have looked at the hindsight 2020 of all of this, and I'm like, there is no way that my person would start to do the things that they're about to do now had they not like had all of this like dominoes fall out in their life. I literally wouldn't be making the same decisions. I would not be thinking of the path in the same seriousness, in the same way. And I probably would be, if I hadn't been embracing kind of the unexpected and the aspects of awakening that are like just there's no path in front of you. You're literally creating a new path as you walk forward. If I hadn't embraced that fully and openly in my heart, I would probably be lost in an old identity that just didn't fit anymore. And I can say that for a lot of people, that if you don't go on your path of awakening, you can get stuck in these old identities and these old, even they're just not real versions of yourself. Maybe they're projections that somebody even projected onto you, and you start living that projection out for a while until you realize that doesn't fit. So the best thing you can do in awakening is try to get to the truth of what you are at your core. Try to get to the truth of what you want to be doing. How do you want your life to look? And then make decisions based on that future version of yourself and how that person would act. What would they do? What inspirations would they act on? And when I had the 2 babies and was a new mom, literally I'm just sitting in a rocker in the dark most of the time, nursing a baby, one or the other, just hoping that one day my reality would align back to the reality of the path that I was on. And the truth is that when I had the 2 babies, I had no idea. I was like, it's over. I had a lot of my bad days. I would think, man, this is over for me. I'm never gonna be able to accomplish this. But then on my better days, I was like, nah, there's something greater going on here, and it's my job, it's my responsibility to hold true to that truth and to keep going along that path no matter what, because that's the thing that's gonna help me connect into the thing that I'm supposed to actually be doing, rather than embracing that lost mindset where you're broken and you feel like I have no idea what the fuck to do with my life. You're gonna have a lot of days like that in awakening. The truth is that you can't let that take a hold of you and allow you to derail you off the path. You just have to keep going. You have to keep holding space for that reality and just keep going. So eventually we decided that in order for us to do the things that we needed to do in life, that we needed to get out of California. We needed to go where we could have people in our life help us so our children could have family, be around family. So we went back to the place that we were from, that we said we would never go back to. So that's where we are now. It wasn't the year that I wanted it to be, but it was a year. It was an amazingly beautiful year. I got to learn my children, learn about them. I got to see them bloom like flowers and become people, become little people. And it was the most beautiful thing that I'm still experiencing now and probably will ever experience, and that I hope to get to have the experience to have another one day. But literally the best advice that I can tell you with that kind of chapter that was this past year was that if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Really take advantage of the moments that you have right now, because you're not going to have them forever. So when I saw that all my projects, they were going to be on hold for another year, they were going to be in an evaluation stage where I needed to organize my life, set up systems, set up a household for my family, try to work through how am I going to be a full-time mom and also raise my children in the best possible way, but then also still have this career that, you know, is calling me from within at such a deep level that like it wakes me up at, well, it's almost 3 now. You know, it keeps me up at night saying, hey, you have to keep going, you have to keep doing this, you have to keep making videos, and you have to keep pursuing the deeper project that I keep calling you to do. So we spent the year enjoying our babies, playing, having a great time, basically learning to relax into life and to embrace awakening from the perspective of, hey, I'm on an awakening path now, I can relax. I can relax to the extent that I want to enjoy the present moment. I never want to look back at these moments and think I was in a state of suffering because I was in an unresolved about where I was at and all the challenges that were continually presenting themselves that I didn't necessarily know how to work through, but I was working through. So this past year, I just literally kept at peace with how everything was presenting, and just allowed those to kick the can down the road on my projects a little bit at a time, even if it was like 5 hours a week sometimes. I even took on flipping furniture, and that really helped open up my mind and get my creativity back online. I started off my artistic practice in sculpture, and so reconnecting back into that physical practice of like working with my hands and doing repetitive tasks. I'm not thinking, I'm doing. That connects you back into your intuitive self, that connects you back into the creative power that is the universe, that's working through your individuated person and the things that they do naturally. So yeah, that's the story of how we got here. The last few months of my projects, that I made a few videos here, but then I just realized that I just kind of wanted to enjoy the aspects of motherhood and not have to force my projects through. So we made it into 2025. Lo and behold, here we are. The election happened. The power still is on. It hasn't fallen apart yet, so I'd say we're doing pretty good. 2025 hit and I started to get that call again that I needed to work on these bigger projects that basically my person, Brittany Brush, has been working on for the last decade and continuing that work. And I started to feel those intuitive prompts saying, hey, you're gonna have the time and the space to do these things now, and the resources that you need and the people that you need to connect with, and the form of this thing that you're working on in the non-physical is now gonna be showing up in your physical reality, and you just need to work every single day as much as you can on those things. Don't get too upset about things being done in a certain timetable that your person thinks, but just like allow things to unfold naturally and trust the process, and you're going to be led in the exact direction that you've been kind of feeling through these last 10 years. So that's where I am now, and this is probably going to be like a really long episode, and that's totally fine. I am never at a loss for words. I can always talk your ear off for hours if you just let me. Maybe you want me to. Maybe that can be a part of this new show. To keep a long story short, 40 minutes. I mean, God, I don't even know how long this is going to be. This is my second recording here. It's at 40 minutes already. We're still going. Honestly, I am so thankful for the last year that has been. I'm so thankful for every single opportunity that looked like a closed door at first, but then opened up in a really beautiful way along the path that helped us get from, I'll say from there to here. It was not from here to there, but it's from there to here. Now we're going from here to there. I'm really thankful for all of you who are joining me on this journey. Thank you for those of you out there who have shown your support, who've shown your love and shown your kindness, liking my videos, following me along this journey. I really appreciate it. I am really excited to be sharing kind of front and center everything that I'm doing, being transparent and sharing about these projects that are literally history unfolding, because the work that I do is not for the faint of heart. They're my projects. I've mentioned this in the past. They're very serious in nature. They are quite a lot. I can't just halfway do something. I have to take something like all the way. It has to really be the high end of performance, like every single time. Like if I'm not satisfied, there's like that drive that like pushes me to that level of perfection. Like not so perfect to where we don't do things, but like so perfect to where like it's the right thing in the wrong place and the wrong thing in the right place. Did that make sense? I think Andy Warhol said that. He was always the right thing in the wrong place or the wrong thing in the right place. I can't remember. Anyway.
In other words, are you saying that you are involved in this idea of making people more conscious of their lives, but you don't really want to get into their lives deeply? You just want to stir up.
Oh yes, don't want to get too involved.
I'm excited to make these episodes. I love how impromptu they are, coming to me at 2:15 to 3 a.m. in the morning. Literally, when you're a parent, those overnight hours are the only hours that you have to yourself and for your work, really, where there's not other little people like needing you and needing your energy to support them. It's the time that you can support yourself. And I know there are people out there who'd be like, you're really fucking up your biological clock by staying up that late, young lady. I'm serious. Try telling that to an artist. Like every artist I know is always up until the wee hours of the morning. That's what makes us an artist. It what makes us different. Also sleep deprived, and I'm sure our health will pay for it later. But hopefully not. We can catch up later. It's okay. It's not a deal breaker. But it does stifle the creative process at times to adhere to, regular work hours. It really does. 9 to 5. Not always an art person thing. So we're figuring it out day by day. And I appreciate you all coming along with me on this journey. I think that's it for today's video. If you found this video helpful in any capacity, give me a like. And so we'll see you guys in the next video.